Hi guys, welcome to the Tyrant Guide. The Tyrant is a giant, evil, man-slapping tank beast. It is really great at doing a lot of things in this game. It's great at crowd control, it's great at damage dealing, it's a little slow, but most of the time, if you know how to do it right, everything seems to happen really quickly. So, he's not so fast moving, but his abilities, if you place him in the right place, which is the most important part of being a tyrant, he can just wreck everything. He becomes a giant deadly foe that's best killed immediately outright, or you just get out of his way because he will crush you into tiny little bits. Tyrant requires a certain level of skill where you need to know exactly when to use him, and you need your help from your teammates to excel with him. Otherwise, if you try and go in 1v1, you're just going to get torn apart because you're too slow to really do much of anything. But when you have a competent team, you pretty much become an unstoppable machine and slaughter everyone and everything. Tyrant comes in two forms depending on what ability you pick. He can either be a really aggressive tank, or he can be a beast thing that just does straight damage. He's really slow, but he hits really, really hard. Now, the abilities I have here are the default charge. I have ignore pain, which is the tank skill. And the other one is Quake or something, and shoots out right there in a line of damage, and it does 300 damage. It's really high damage, but it's a line and it's kind of hard to aim. And once you pick your attack with it doesn't really have the ability to change after you've hit the button, so it does take quite a bit of time. So the Tyrant is so slow, he doesn't really have the ability to dodge at all. He usually just soaks up damage, or he knocks people down with interrupts in his attacks, and that prevents them from being able to do damage. Or all other time, he just kind of uses corners and things and breaks line of sight to remove damage. He's not like the other classes where he can get out of the way. He's a big, huge target. Charge, when you use it, it makes a attack, or you start running, just like any other thing you might be familiar with Left 4 Dead, the charger. And if you can knock people off places with your abilities, it does a lot more damage to them, so that's really good. And with charge, you don't have to be too accurate with it because the hitbox is pretty big, seeing as it's hard to hit people when they're up close and stuff. So you can hit people sometimes without actually clipping their model much. So it's pretty easy to use. But for the most part, what you're actually trying to do with charge is you're trying to be extra sneaky, where you're charging from an unknown direction, because when you activate the charge ability, it's very loud and people can hear you from pretty much across the entire level. So you have to try and fall from different areas down into the charge, or you come around from corners. You just kind of try and cut off the line of sight as long as you can, so you come ripping around a corner and hitting people. That usually makes it much more successful than if you're just charging from wherever. So what you need to do with this ability is try and get a lot of information before you start charging, and try not to get seen so that you're sneaky. So see, like this, running out in the open is a really bad idea because you're a huge target and you're really easy to hit. But the good thing is that if you can keep cover, your heal is actually really high. You can heal like 300-400 HP usually each turn. So it's really great to leave battle, come back in just another 10 seconds later when your teammates are here, and you can actually survive a hit or two. Even if you don't have ignore pain, don't be afraid to run into stuff because you have a lot of health and you can kill an enemy that might otherwise deal damage to you. Remember, charge is aimable, and you can sort of pump fake in what direction you're going to start going. You want to try and not use your charge when it's not necessary because it takes a long time to recharge it. But one of the cool things about charge is that you don't have to necessarily hold it down for the full duration. You can let go of it and it will let your charge go back to where it was, and it won't take as long to use it. Sometimes it's good to open up with an ignore pain if you get caught, so it absorb all that damage. I wasted his bola, I wasted his gate, and I got away. I only took about 300-400 damage. And then I break into my charge here. I hit all 3 of them, interrupt them. I mess up that fire. I hit my shockwave. Let that guy, put him in the corner so he can be handled. I come here and I help the Reaver, and I finish off the guy. If there's just a lone person, a lot of the time charge can be very helpful, even if you miss, because you take away the guy's concentration. And if you do hit him, you knock him over, and if it doesn't even, you allow your friend to land a few hits in. One of the other cool things about charge is that you can hit it and you can smash into walls and stuff, and you can still use that to like bounce and be a little bit more unpredictable in your path. You can hit usually 1, maybe 2 walls, but anything after that you kind of dead stop. Oftentimes if pings are really high or if they dodge away at the last second, you won't get the message that they moved in time. You should never try and charge if you don't have a clear path, because you're going to hit everything in the way and you're just going to fail. A cool thing you can do if you have shockwave is if you mess up your charge or whatever, you can use shockwave to interrupt people from attacking you, and then you can go ahead and from a different direction, like here I'm attacking in this little linear pipeline. This is pretty hard to dodge it, and they have the choice of going that one hole, but if they didn't do that, they're going to be separated from their teammates even if they did do that. So it works really well to my advantage. So here I'm charging down this pipeline because there's no way that they can dodge it, and then I do the shockwave down the other way because there's no way that they can dodge it. That works really well. Here's another example of a bad charge where I started the charge outside instead of inside where I was protected. It becomes really obvious and easy to dodge. Here's the same exact charge, but I did it where the alchemist couldn't see me, so I made it much more successful. One of the things you can do with charge is you can pump fake it, where you fake that you're not actually charging, and then people jump off to the sides hopefully, and then you only have to deal with one of them. One of the things you can do with charge is you can charge from one level to another level, and then you can hit people, knock them out, hit enrage, and then that'll give you the damage. You can do your attack, and then you'll be able to punch people for a while. By the time your enrage is gone, you'll have a second or 2 left, and then your charge will be back up. What you want to try and do with charge is try and break direct line of sight so you can get around a corner or something, because if you get boloed, that pretty much stops all your damage. One of the things you don't want to do with charge is get backed into a corner trying to hide with it, because people can run you down, and charge is not a very effective hack when you're fighting somebody up 1-in-1. You're going to use up your other abilities feeding them, and if you get boloed or anything like that, or bullet, you're going to be really screwed, and your charge at best is going to be a kind of mangled charge where people know exactly where you are, and it's going to be terrible. When you're charging, you can catch people who try and dodge out of the way, and you can go into the spot that they're going to dodge. And if you don't land your smash, it's really going to hurt you, because trying to catch up to faster opponents and trying to hit them while they're rolling around is not going to work out very well for you. One of the ways you can get around a really dodgy opponent is to hit them into a corner so that you can deal with them with your smashes and punches, and they really have no maneuverability. If you fail your charge, you don't want to follow people and try and get to where they're going, because they are usually going to be going towards their friendly teammates. So what looks like you just chasing somebody randomly is actually most likely them running directly into their teammates. So that's what you're going to do. You're going to run directly into enemy fire of all 4 people, and they're most likely going. If the area you're in is really small, don't feel like you're trapped, because a lot of the abilities make very great use of small maneuverability for the enemies. So like a firewall here can very quickly turn into a pit of fight by you by slamming
the alchemist, forcing him into his own fire and using his own fire against him. So from full health, you hit 225 each punch, 3, 4, 5 hits. Probably one of the worst places for a tyrant to be is up high, especially out in the open, because people can track you for pretty much the whole level, and they. In contrast here, however, there's a tyrant here that's been really high up, and he's been stealthy the whole time. Nobody's been seeing him, and he's been hiding here. And when he's had the right moment, he drops down. He's able to knock down everybody here, deal a huge amount of damage to them, and ruin the coordination of the entire team and separate one guy.
Unstoppable! Let us win.
Alright guys, next up is Marathon. Marathon is very similar to Charge, except it's much longer, so it allows you to hit from a much further distance away. It also enables you to hide around corners and come out of nowhere much easier than it is with other skills. So I think all the times Marathon is the third skill, but you have to control it, because if you hold on to it for very long, 24 seconds is a really long time to wait. But it's very helpful in helping you escape battles. Here I'm charging from a ridiculous distance. It becomes hard to track me because I'm going for so long, and I have so many paths open to me. Also, because of its long duration, you can really take advantage of bouncing across all over walls, because people are going to be hearing you thinking you're pretty close, but you're actually pretty far away, and then you bounce around everywhere. You become really unpredictable, and it's really great at causing massive chaos, and people don't know where to dodge.
That's the price of your stupidity. I am a true warrior.
So with Marathon, I think you can turn a lot better than people expect you to, and there's not really a tell between Marathon and Charge other than the duration, so you can use that to your advantage and get people that think they're safe. Here's an example here of showing how you can do the little ricocheting thing there that makes it really hard to dodge. So here I don't really have a very good linear charge path, so I drop down to get to another location, and you can hit Enrage while you're climbing up, so you can take that timer out of the way, and then I'm doing that ricocheting effect here, and it's completely successful. Alright guys, next up is Ignore Pain. Ignore Pain is the tanking skill. It allows you to take a lot less damage, so you can live a lot longer. It is very long in its timer. When you use it, it's going to be a whole 25 seconds before you can use it again. It lasts for about 7 seconds or so, I believe. So it's really great. It allows you to enter battle where you can use it and pop it early, so it gets you into the area, gets them to waste some ammo, or it gets them to waste their special abilities. You can also use it to escape, so that you're not going to when you are in the middle of the battle. And it is very helpful for just getting in the way, because you can stand literally in the way. Anybody who does like area of effect damage can reflect back on themselves, because you're just like a physical wall standing in the way. It can also be used to block physically the view of other characters, so that they can't see what's going on. Like here, I charge into, I smash down the people, I get a big huge hit on that alchemist, and then I hit him a few more times. Then I'm blocking here, so he can't hit the Reaver, and while he's distracted me because I'm blocking his screen, the other tyrant over there healed, and then they ground pounded the crap out of the alchemist, and he's... In this next clip, I'm showing you what I was talking about earlier, where I'm going to pop Ignore Pain, run in, distract them a whole bunch, not really take much damage, and I get them to waste all their ammo and some of their special skills, so that my friends come running in, smashing into them with their skills, and since they don't have any ammo, they can't put up much resistance at all. Here I'm blocking for the Reaver, so he's not going to take all this alchemist damage. Here I'm physically blocking the way with Ignore Pain, absorbing the damage while my teammates get closer and they don't take the damage from the shots. It doesn't work too well though here, like where the Reaver isn't really doing very well. And he didn't land an AoE, so I'm just getting kind of torn apart here. One of the cool things about Ignore Pain is that it can ignore some of the interrupts and it can break free of bolas. So you can try and soak up as much damage, break the bola, waste it so it doesn't get on somebody else, and you can still do your job more or less with Ignore Pain. Like, see all these guys here, I wasted their abilities, some of their ammo, we use that time to overwhelm them, and then I come back over here and finish him off.
Rebel.
Here I do a charge out of view so I can hit people. There's not too many people to hit. I get the two guys, I smash into them, I hit a punch or two, then I pop Ignore Pain, and I try and herd this guy over to here, and he's being distracted, and the other guy's being distracted, shoot me, and then the Reavers pop up out of nowhere behind them and cleanly. Here I'm charging into a knockdown, I ground pound, and then I punch a few times, hit Ignore Pain, and I get up in this Alchemist's face. The Alchemist is freaking out, and he's when they should be conserving ammo, but they're not, they're scared, and they're wasting it and damaging themselves. Here I'm charging into a rooftop, I'm ricocheting, unfortunately I don't hit anybody. And this guy here is using Flamethrower, I can smash, and it interrupts his Flamethrower. I pop Ignore Pain on this guy, he hits me with AoE, which damages himself a little bit. I'm distracting him so that the other Tyrant can come in, grab him, and chuck him into the wall. So I eat all the damage, and nobody else gets damaged, and I just get damaged a little bit. Okay, I have to slow this one down because a lot of stuff happens. I jump in and try and get the two guys. I see the two alchemists over there. That stuns these guys in place. I do a smash that stuns them again. I land a punch here on the archer. I immediately pop my Ignore Pain. One of the alchemists starts coming over with the flamethrower, so I try and hop in front of my teammates to protect him. I try and aggravate him by getting close up in his face, and he stupidly follows me, so that takes a lot of the damage from the flamethrower off my friends and onto me, and my Ignore Pain stops a lot of it. I charge up in it, and I land it on the alchemist and kill him instantly. Next up is Enrage. Enrage is a passive ability where you pop it and you can use it, and it boosts your attack and movement speeds. It immediately is at 30% to damage, so it's really great, and it increases more on both scales the more damage you have. So if you're really about to, you could get a 50% boost to your damage, and this stacks on top of any of the vampire perks you have, like Berserk. So those are really great. You become a really hard-hitting thing, but you do lose your Ignore Pain, so you're gonna have to try and get in, punch people quickly, and avoid damage as much as possible. You're gonna try and knock people over and use your crowd controls and things instead of your Ignore Pain to eat up that damage. Enrage makes you into a glass cannon. You really have to know what you're doing and have a real good idea of what's happening on the battlefield to use it effectively, because otherwise you're just going to fail. So everything you do, any little tiny mistake is going to cost you a lot. You're going to be trying to get in, smashing the crap out of people, and usually having a friendly punch one or two of them, and you do the massive most damage, or an AoE finishes them off. I'm not going to cover too much in Enrage because there's not much to do it. It's just using Tyrant in general. So please make sure you pay attention to a lot of the footage here in the upcoming shots, and when and how I popped Enrage, and how I'm playing the Tyrant in order to make a success out of Enrage. This next secondary ability is called Shockwave. Shockwave attacks in a linear path by knocking the ground up in front of you. This is an attack that can be useful for hitting people and getting out of the way, for smacking people in hallways that are stuck, for any area really where charge is effective. Shockwave is going to be effective too. It hits for 300 damage, it's pretty quick, and it's hard to dodge. It's quite wide on the cone. It can hit people into objects and walls or off platforms and deal more damage. If you're using Enrage in your Tyrant build, just the damage down to 900 on your health adds an extra 100 damage, so you can damage 400 on people. So it really stacks up well and does a huge amount of damage if you're using Enrage and the other various skills. So it's really a punishing move. But it does suffer from the ability where it has to be aimed, and that's really bad sometimes, because you can get hit by blinds, or you don't really know where people are. Where Smash, you can just jump and get to that area and you can just hit it. With Shockwave, you have to actually aim it perfectly every single time, and it kind of short circuits you and removes you from combat if you don't have the line of sight. Anywhere that's really linear pairs up really well with Charge, where you can either Shockwave people into place and line them up and so that they can't run away and charge them, or you can charge first, knock them all over, turn around, and then throw your Shockwave. People often have the tendency to try and chase after you, and that lines them up a lot better for Shockwave. In contrast to Shockwave, you have Smash. Smash gives up its initiator to be a secondary ability, but it works well with Jump or Charge. It usually is typically used as a secondary attack, where everyone is either jumped and smashed into place like you saw here, or you charge, knock them all over, and they're all grouped into an area, and then you smash them. Smash interrupts people, so it's really helpful to help out your teammates or yourself, or preventing any sort of hack or CC or anything that's going to try and knock you out of the way. It doesn't knock people like away, it just pops them up in the air in place, so it can't be used to knock them off of things. It can be only used maybe if you kind of interrupt them and you screw up the direction they're trying to run in, but that's really about it. It's mostly just to hold people down in place. It works really well when you team up with other people and they have AoEs and they can throw them like Choking Haze or Explosives or whatever, and they work really well. You can CC smash them in place so your friendlies can charge and attack and smack them. Here I'm being chased and damaged and I'm really low health, so I pop my Enrage down here and I hit my Smash and it hits him through the roof and while he's falling, so I can deal a huge amount of damage to him. And I can still be safe with my Smash, since it kind of hits through little walls and buildings and things of just a little bit, as long as there's sort of like a view from it. Here I'm charging and knocking everybody off, separating one guy. Smash is not so great at 1v1, it just kind of does 250 and then it doesn't really damage them, throw them out of the way or anything. But it does keep them in place and can be used to interrupt some of their abilities if they try and use them, because it does attack much faster where it's almost instantaneous. So here again, people are having problems trying to get this hunter, I just smash him into place. You also have to understand where Smash is effective, like here, jump and throw, and even Shockwave wouldn't be very effective here because you can't really get to them. So what I do is I switch here to Marathon, I get my Smash and my Enrage, I hit my Enrage, run in with my Marathon, smack as many people into the corner as I can, smash my Rage, and I can nearly kill all of them just by myself. Carefully monitor your enemy's hit points. Like here, it would have been much better if I had done my Smash with my Enrage already going. I would have those two guys instantly, and those other guys would have been really low. So when the Sentinel charged down there, it would have killed them, but instead I didn't do it, and I hit Enrage later, and I was able to punch it, but it wasn't very helpful. So like here, it didn't help too much, but I did a lot of the majority of damage, and then another Tyrant comes in with his Smash, and he smashes all three of them, finishes them off. I interrupt here with my charge, I interrupted the CC from Smash, and I place him against the fire, and he's trapped and forced to go outside and get punched in the butt. The last secondary ability is Throw. Throw is great for 1v1. It has the ability to CC one person, throws them out of the battle, and it does quite a large amount of damage. So it's not great at feeding crowds at all. It's more of a conditional attack thing. Where like here I hit my Enrage, I throw the guy into the wall, separate him out from the other guys, and he can be singled out in a 1v1. Or 2v1, but you get the idea. It's a short range attack, so you have to get up close and personal, and it can't be aimed once you really push the button. So it's You have to really learn how to use it, otherwise you're just gonna miss and look stupid and just kind of dance there in place and people will make fun of you and shoot you in the face. Usually it's good to work corners and various things to prevent other people from shooting you, so that you can make a 1v1 scenario out of, you know, what used to be a crowd scenario, just by throwing someone around the corner, just by breaking that little line of sight. Here I'm charging into everybody. I get a alchemist and a scout separate. I wait until the alchemist hits me in the face. I punch the scout in the face. That gives me the chance to throw the scout. So the further I am away from the alchemist, the safer I'm going to be. It's going to be harder for him to land shots. So I just punch the crap out of the scout and I come back and finish off the alchemist. One of the things you can do with throws, you can sometimes throw people out of the level or really far distances, and does a huge amount of damage. In this clip, I'm charging at these guys. I get them separated around. They get confused. I knock that one guy down. So I wait for him to go over here, and I chuck him into the little hallway so I can't be in the line of sight of the other enemies anymore. I CC him from damaging me, and I punch the crap out of him. Throw does have some limited ability to grab people that are falling or jumping around or anything. So it is kind of useful in that aspect. It's not completely having to be a level ground, so that works.
Blood for Nosgoth!
Another tactic you can use with throw is you wait till someone comes around a corner, and then you can grab them out of nowhere and they don't expect it to happen, and they take the full amount of throw damage. Throw can be utilized with marathon or charge to smash someone into something, and you can immediately grab them and keep them CC'd the whole time. So if you can, when you're trying to do a charge or something, you can try and hit enrage, knock everyone off, single off a guy, throw him, hit him into a wall, and then you can punch him before he gets back
The
out.
soil of Nosgoth.
Then you'll be able to do all that damage without relatively taking any damage at all, assuming that nobody's really chased you or stunned you. All this time here, and I've waited up, and I got all my hacks back, and I pretty much everybody by myself. Just CCing them and knocking them out of the way by myself. Throw can be interrupted, however, as you saw right there, so be aware of that. So be aware that when you're using throw, it makes you stand still for quite a long period of time, so anything like bolas, hex shots can interrupt your throw, and you're really easy just standing there to hit. Throw also doesn't work if there's a huge difference in elevation. Last but not least is the ability jump. Jump enables you to, well, jump. And it is fairly aimable. You can kind of turn a little bit here and there. But the idea behind jump is basically to get behind stuff so that you can jump over it out of the line of sight and come in and slam into people, and that slam stuns them in place as well as does a great deal of damage to them. You can pair this up with enrage, and it often does a lot of damage. If you get hit on the way down, that'll only strengthen you and make your jump more damaging. So like here, I was thinking of jumping up there, but I'm actually better camouflaged and my jump is more stealthily if it was done here. So here I do that, go into a stun, and I take out almost all the HP on the entire team just with my jump and my ground slam. Jump is not very good at hitting stuff directly in front of it, so there's a considerable forward distance that you're going to travel. You shouldn't try and jump when there's obstacles in your way, because you'll most likely hit them. There's also a skybox that you're going to hit if you're already on top of a building, so be aware of that as well. Since you don't have charge or any movement ability really, if you are trapped, all you can really do is kind of dodge out of the way. Especially with Alchemist, it's real easy. You can walk in the way while he misses his shots and get yourself a little bit closer. Everyone else, you're probably going to want to just run away and get around the corner, because you're not going to get there in time. You're just going to get chewed down. The damage on jump can actually stack quite high, where a 600 health can damage a 700 hit onto somebody with jump. When you jump, you either have to do it really secluded, or you have to have another person helping you with an AoE or something to cause distraction. Otherwise, you just kind of get ripped apart. You can use objects such as trees or buildings to deviate the path of your jump and curve it a bit. One of the changes that was done in a recent patch was to make it so that when you jump and you land on an equal height item, you just kind of stop and you don't do a slam. So it's kind of a problem when that happens. It also was before making like multiple jump scenarios, and it was really, really bad. So you just kind of have to make sure that you don't do that, so that way you won't get stopped on your landing. You do need a certain amount of airtime to make your jump work, so jumping inside buildings does not work. If you don't jump very sneakily, and people don't have sufficient time to engage you, they will still just run away. Be careful when you're jumping that you don't jump accidentally into the water. If there really isn't a chance to hit multiple targets with your jump and you hit one target, it's usually better to roll out of the way of the bolas or whatever, and you can get a punch off much faster than you'll get off your slam or anything else. So that's usually the best thing to do in that case. So here I go into the jump, I slam in everyone, I roll over, and then I do the smash, and that knocks everyone out. And then I go into an ignore pain, and that blocks all the damage coming from this hunter while the other tyrants come in and run and do their CC. That gives me enough time to get my jump back up, and if this guy had landed here, I could CC him in place. If need be, you can kind of curl back your attack so that you can avoid, like here, jumping into the water. I land on a little platform area, and so I'm elevated. People really don't look at me because they don't expect me to be at a different eyesight level, so I can use that to my advantage, just standing there ground pounding and doing all my special abilities. So in this jump I used the palm tree to kind of cover my attack. I missed everyone, so it wasn't a really great jump, but I pounded into the scout there, so that led me able to get some damage on him. I sneak around, get my smash in, and I get them to throw out a few of their abilities, and I'm running away. So as long as I'm not taking damage, I'm over here regenerating health, so that gets my abilities back up and my ability to just punch people, because I have a lot more health now. I have like 400 more health, so I can just kind of stand here and eat the ignore pain damage from the scout, scare him and run away so that the other tyrant can get his health back. So now I have enough health where I can just take some damage from the hunters here. I tried to do the thing again, but it failed, but it actually worked out this time. So it freaked out people. They didn't expect me to do that, so they stayed in place and got hit. So that gave me enough time, and just that little beginning where I waited, it gave me enough health to carry out that whole thing. Alright guys, so that concludes the Tyrant guide video. So if you have any more questions about Tyrant, I can try and answer them for you. Please just leave them here in the comments below. If you have any extra comments on things that I might have missed, leave those as well, so that we can all make the video a bit better for everybody. And I should be out soon with the class guides for the other classes, so just give me about a week on each one or so. I have most of the footage, but I kind of need footage here and there of different things, so you know, just be patient with me. So if you want, please subscribe or check out the other videos here to see the other class guides. That way you'll know when they're out as soon as possible.